Hello everyone, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. As promised, let's go ahead and let's do Chapter 1 of the Occult Investigator, Real Cases from the Files of Ex-Investigations book by Bob Johnson. It's going to be a little weird, a little different in that it's going to be Chapter 1, but it's part of a chapter. So in other words, the first part, and then there's a second part, and then there's a third part, and so on, mainly because the chapters themselves are pretty long. So in this case, this is the first part of the curse of the Velvet Room Cafe. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here, or let's read it at least. It haunted her like she had committed a murder. Each time Mary Montrose entered the Velvet Room Cafe on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, a sense of fearful dread overcame her. She felt guilty, evil, ugly, and even sinful. She felt as if she had done something terribly wrong and she would somehow have to pay a horrible price. But what troubled her most was not the feeling of darkness, but the confusion in her mind as to why she should feel these things. She was not an evil person. She had done nothing to harm anyone in her life that would warrant these awful, malignant impressions. And what was even more disturbing was that this feeling attacked her only when she visited the quaint Madison Avenue Cafe. The shop pleased her so much as it was decorated in the rich, ornate, and lush Victorian period style. She loved the place. She loved the velvety soft sofas and how the cascading drapery framed the large front window. When she looked out of the window onto 2nd Avenue through the purple and red drapery, she imagined herself a Victorian lady waiting for her gentleman's carriage. Her heart beat rapidly and her face flushed during her cafe daydreams, but the glow was quickly overcome by that gnawing, ominous sense of depression that leaked into her mind and body, almost causing her to bolt from the cafe in a panic. Mary simply couldn't understand how a cafe, a storefront, could evoke such a terrible feeling within her. The first time she noticed it was in the winter of 1995, just after Christmas. She remembered it vividly because the New York holiday lull between Christmas Day and New Year's Day stood out in her mind. She recalled how she desperately tried to hang on to her usual festive and secure feeling between the two occasions, but then remembered how it was suddenly interrupted by the Velvet Room Cafe's sullen shadow. It began after a full morning's shopping along Madison Avenue at her favorite boutiques when Mary decided she needed a coffee break to recharge her energy for the remainder of the day. Although she vaguely remembered a small cafe that she promised herself she would one day visit, she couldn't put her finger on its name or where it was located. Mary knew it appealed to her because of its decor and ambiance, and that it seemed to pop up whenever she was shopping nearby, but she had no real sense of where the little shop actually was. And so she was determined to find the haven so she could rest her tired feet and also satisfy her curiosity about the cafe. And so walking aimlessly and peering down side streets looking for the shop, she was about to give up and enter a Starbucks when a screeching taxi cab jumped the curb of 56th Street, taking out a mailbox, 3 street signs, and then nearly crushing her into a plate glass window. She was knocked off of her feet, but she fortunately managed to avoid being seriously hurt. And so once Mary caught her breath and then shook the cobwebs from her head, she assured the group of people who circled around her that she was indeed not hurt. And so she then walked a few steps, looked up, and was amazed to see that she was directly in front of the storefront she was looking for. The Velvet Room Cafe's ornamental sign seemed to stare at her like a welcoming beacon, and she instinctively entered the store, unaware that her respite was to be the beginning of a harrowing journey into the supernatural that carried with it a malignant ancient curse, strange apparitions, and a greedy, deranged blood relation who would affect her life for years to come. And then that's it. That's everything associated with the actual first part of Chapter 1 of The Curse of the Velvet Room Cafe. Short part, but again, it's how it's set up with these chapters is what I saw. They're made up of sub-chapters, if you will. Nice little tease, right, when it comes to this story. Obviously, there's this Velvet Room Cafe that has caught Mary's attention. She couldn't understand why. She couldn't find it. It was almost like it was being hidden from her on purpose, except for that fateful day when she was there on that quote-unquote New York holiday lull between Christmas Day and New Year's Day, shopping around, trying to finally go to this Velvet Room Cafe that she was so attracted to. She liked its design, she liked the interior, the decor, the ambiance, as she mentioned, but she couldn't find it. It was weird, right? When I was reading that initial sub-chapter, it was like, why was it avoiding her all of a sudden? And then out of the blue, almost like fate, there was that taxi cab that came out of nowhere, came out of that 56th Street location, taking out several things, almost crushing her against some window, and then it left. Who knows where that taxi cab left? Who knows essentially was driving it? No one knows. It's as mysterious as it first came on board and then just went away. But now, all of a sudden, she was in front of that cafe. What a weird coinkydink, right, when it comes to that. And then on top of that, there's the tease about a malignant ancient curse, strange apparitions, and a greedy, deranged blood relation. Great stuff when it comes to this chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do the next sub-chapter of The Curse of the Velvet Room Cafe. Be on the lookout for that soon. And then I'd love to hear what your thoughts and comments on there too. Let me know if you want me to continue this particular book as well. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.